Welcome to another episode of Poor Decisions, where we make the poor decisions.
So you don't have to.
And this week is very special because we had a special guest in the studio all week, turkey hunting with you. He was on your podcast. Dear friend of ours, Mr. Mike Passaglia.
All right, Mike Passaglia, you're right in. You're just not even setting it up, just bringing it over.
Why, hello. Hello. Lovely to see you too.
So for those of you that don't know, Mike is a dear friend of Katie and I. He's like a big brother to me. We filmed the podcast this week. It was a great podcast. We had a lot of fun with that. We also found time to do a little turkey hunting, and we were very successful this morning. So this is the perfect way to celebrate.
Yes. So you've seen a couple of our poor decisions.
Love them.
Right? So I'm going to pour us some wine. We're going to taste it. And because you are like the wine aficionado that we know, our first trip to Napa was with you. You are so knowledgeable about wine, and you're very impressive when you're talking to like the sommelier or whoever's there. But yet you had a Bigfoot t-shirt on that said, "I believe." And it was just so great. You're like giving all of your wine wisdom. And I just kept looking at your t-shirt and I was like, God, I love you.
Yeah. What a dichotomy. So Mike is from California, and here's a great story that I'd love for you to tell. How you got into wine, because it is exciting. Like I think it's a great story. I don't think you know this yet.
So the Duck Club wine?
Yep.
Okay. So the Duck Club wine. So I grew up drinking Coors Light beer, like most guys out there, and hopefully we can address that today as well.
Yeah.
But also growing up duck hunting and being in the Duck Club, of course. So up at the Duck Club around 1997, a few members joined, and it just so happened they had wineries in Napa. One of them was a gentleman named Ray Duncan, owned a vineyard called Silver Oak, which perhaps people have heard of.
Very good.
Tom Jordan Winery, and then Alexander Valley Vineyards.
Yeah.
And so they naturally had great wine cellars up at the Duck Club, and so I was invited to go and eat with them, and we'd sit down and have the wines, and my father would say, look, don't drink the Silver Oak. That's the best one. Everybody drinks it.
Yeah.
And the guys would get competitive, right? Mm-hmm. Because he said, your palate doesn't care. And so I thought to myself, well, he's right, but my gosh, all of our palates care. We should treat them.
Yeah.
So I did, and that's kind of where I started drinking wine, and I guarantee you I went for that Silver Oak back then in the late 90s, early 2000s, every time. The other ones were great, but there's just something about that silky smooth, right?
Yeah, it is a good one.
Yeah, and so that's how I was introduced to wine.
Yes.
And then if you'd like, a little later, I can tell you how everyone should learn about wine.
Yes,
that's for sure.
That is going to be great. That is going to be great. So again, Mike has a lot of knowledge on this. Katie she either gets a really good one or a really bad one. So it's like never really in between with me.
For the novice wine connoisseurs at home or those, listen, you don't have to know anything about this stuff. Just from observing, I knew that you first grab wine and just swirl the glass carefully. It doesn't matter if you know what you're doing. Other people will see it and think it's cool. So you're good to go there.
Okay.
Then tilt it slightly sideways and roll it.
Okay.
And you look for the drain coming down, a little bit of legs, right? So right away, I would say this one seems to be lacking legs, which could be a sign of mediocrity. We'll have to see.
Okay.
And then you open up the senses. You tease the wine while you open up your palate. So unlike a beer where you crack and drink, again, we swirl, we look, we then smell, but we don't sip yet.
Okay.
And then we go in for the kill. And so we take it, we put our nose in the glass, inhale while we sip. And then we hold it in our mouth just a little bit.
Yep.
And we can let it open up.
Very classy.
Yep.
And then we swallow.
Yes.
See, that's our problem. Katie and I just go in for the kill.
So did I.
Every single time we just pour it and we go in for the kill.
I mean, I had 2 sips before.
But I gotta be honest with you, that actually tasted pretty decent to me when I tasted it.
Yeah.
The word that comes, and then you think of the first word that comes to mind. That's the fun in wine. There's no right or wrong.
No.
Delightful is what I think when I taste this. I'll take another.
So what kind of wine do you think it is?
Well, it's absolutely it's a cab, right? I would
Mike,
say.
your thoughts?
I would say a cab, but it's a lighter side of the cab. It's not
It
a
is
Pinot.
yeah.
It's a lighter cab would be my guess.
It is a cab. It is not Pinot.
I think it's very smooth. So the things that most people, you also learn from asking questions of everybody, like, why are you swirling that glass and not drinking it? I'd be done right now, right?
Yeah.
So people tell you, and then you do it, and it's like, oh, that is cool. Okay, that makes sense. Get more and open it up. So it's going to hit you forward palate. If you know what your palate is, you got to know your palate to know wine, right? Yeah. That's that hard thing.
Katie's is leathery, smoky, beefy, chewy.
Okay.
We've used all the words here for that.
And of course, so leathery, smoky, tobacco,
those are all my
vanilla,
favorite.
chocolate.
Yeah.
That all comes from the barrel.
Interesting.
And so the type of barrel they use can actually drive some of that stuff. So when we talk about the smoky bacon wine versus the silky French wine, same grapes, different barrel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting. All right.
So
is this all the stuff they say while we're on those tours? And we're just slamming wine down? Katie and I are just in the background, just blackout blowing in the low threes.
Because we probably had a pre-bottle before we even went to our first winery.
Yeah. And we just probably went after it as well. So
that's very smooth.
Yeah.
Very good.
On a scale of 0 to 5, how do you rate it?
I saw how tough you guys were on wines that you said you liked.
Yeah.
And
it's a made-up scale, let's be honest.
So I'm going to go 3.85.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Going with the 0.8 and 5 at the end.
Okay.
3.85. All right. I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of like this one, Katie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna go the 3.2.
Wow.
3.2.
Okay.
I like it.
Okay.
Very fruity.
I'm gonna high threes, like 3.95 to a 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a very high standard.
Very high standards.
Okay. So
ready?
the question is this: before you unveil, we make the poor decision, so you don't have to.
Yes.
Is it a poor decision?
No, it's definitely not a poor decision.
Mike, your expertise?
Absolutely not a poor decision.
Not a poor decision.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
You?
Not a poor decision. Fantastic one.
The only poor decision is what it will do to your wallet.
Oh, wait a second. That's my wallet. Your wallet. I don't know about this.
All right.
Oh, it's a cave.
This is our last bottle of Del Dotto, and you know what? Saved for the perfect man.
Oh, thank
Because you are the person who took us to Del Dotto for the first time.
Del Dotto is an incredible vineyard. Dave Del Dotto, he's comes from the advertising world. Actually, was one of the first infomercials, and has an incredible winery there. If you go to the Del Dotto wine, which I highly recommend,
You'll be wasted.
Don't plan anything else for the rest of the day. Just do that and try to get some food at the end. Mike and I have got plenty of stories from highly aggressive bottles of wine that they get you a little zipped up on, and we've ended up. I actually woke up one day and asked Katie if we bought a vineyard last night because it was quite the night. So we had some refunds. But it was a great time. Del Dotto Cave Blend, that's an incredible one. That's why it's so good.
You really crushed it with that. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. And just before you go, tell us how everybody can get into wine. So I know how you got into wine, but give us a story. We were talking in the truck the other day, and I asked him this, and I thought it was just a great story. And it's great advice. It's really kind of in some aspects how we've started along the way as well. So let everybody know how you can do it.
Sure it is. So look, I said from the start, I'm a Coors Light, Busch Light, beer guy, right? And out on the lake, when it's hot, summer, middle of the day, love a good cold beer.
Yep.
But too many cold beers and you've got this, right? But if you cut the beer and drink the wine, it becomes this. So again,
nice.
beer, wine. It's like the Ozempic of beer. And so I encourage everybody to get into it. And here's the thing. For all the hunters out there, look, we hunt as hardcore as anybody, right? We love good wine. We love good experiences. So all those manly men that are hunters, your wives are going to love that you get into the wines. And think about this. People say wine snob. Who says beer snob?
Yeah.
But people say, oh, that's an IPA, or oh, that's too hoppy, or things like that. Well, nobody ever questions that, right?
Yeah.
This is a more fun version of that. So here's how you get into it. My beautiful wife, Angelica, and I decided, let's learn about wines. Let's not be fools out there with all the wine snobs or experts. Let's have fun at home doing this, right?
Yep.
So we went to, for us, it's Vino Volo, right?
Yep.
The wine outlets. And we gave each other a challenge. We love reds. So it's like, hey, whether it's a Pinot, whether it's a Cab, each of us get to pick 3 bottles, okay? And we're gonna pick them based on how funny or cool we think the label is.
Okay.
And then when we're done, we'll see who got the better labels, right? So what it does is it gets you to go do something you can relate to, which is look at things you like, whether it's the picture, it's funny, whatever it is. Well, I could hear her boisterous laugh from 2 rows over, and I knew she was crushing it.
Yeah.
So we each got 3 bottles of wine.
Yep.
No idea how they'd taste or who they were or what they were. And then we went ahead based on the labels, laughed our tails off on that one. And then we went home and we opened each one. And then we read about, what are you looking for? What is the taste, right? And we started to open our senses to that, had fun. And then after a few times of doing that, we were ready for the real world. And the rest, as they say, is history. People hand me at corporate dinners and events and everything, we're in these fine restaurants, people hand me the wine list and they're like, here,
Oh,
Mike.
we do that when we go out to eat.
Here, Mike, you pick. It's hilarious that people do that because this is so easy to get into and it's so much fun. And I love what you guys are doing because you're showing everybody you don't have to be cool or an expert or a millionaire or anybody to do this, and you darn well should. So
you don't need to know anything. As Katie and I have stated numerous times, we don't know anything about wine except that we know what we love and we know if it's a poor decision or not, and we can just bring you the basics just so that everybody can have fun with it. And that's another reason that Katie and I love doing this together, is because it is something that we enjoy and it is fun, and we get to have a lot of fun with each other when we do it. So Mike, it's been a pleasure having you in the studio all week. We've had a lot of fun. It's a great way to finish Poor Decisions this week. This is not a poor decision.
No.
Right?
absolutely not a poor decision. You guys rock. Pick your labels. Just funny labels and start there. You're going to love it.
Thank you for watching Poor Decisions, where we make the poor decision
so you don't have to. Cheers. Everybody.